Man, I have a whole new appreciation for these lo-fi hip-hop streams. Who wants to stay here for the next 2 hours and listen to this? We can do this, right? Okay, maybe not. Still, it's pretty good, though. Alright, let's go ahead and get rid of this so we can get started. There we go. We're not starting soon, we are starting. So, hello! Shadowcat back, and I don't know what I'm doing! No, really, that's not a clever joke. I actually don't know what I'm doing. Like, we spent so much time on that Star Trek module that now I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Unfortunately. It's okay, though. I have some ideas. I mean, we got stuff that we can do. We got stuff we can do. And if not, I mean, we can always play a game or something. It's a chill stream. There's no real expectations here. All the expectations were yesterday. This is like decompression time. I'm going to bring up a spreadsheet, though, just because I feel like I might need it. Well, I probably will need it. And do I have a browser that I'm not currently using? Yes, I do. Alright, I can close out some tabs. And there we go. Now I got a browser I can use as well. Alright, that's perfect. And that's perfect. Alright. So how's everyone else doing? I'm doing all right this morning. Turns out I had peanut butter and jelly sandwich for breakfast this morning. Like, I don't know how you can screw up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich except by having like bad ingredients. And let me tell you, dollar store jelly is like the absolute worst thing I think I've ever eaten. And I've eaten a lot of bad things, but that's like one of the worst things I've ever eaten. It's like, how do you screw up jelly? It's literally just the extract from fruit and sugar. And granted, there may be a little bit more to it, but it's like, how do you screw that up? It's an honestly impressive feat to make a bad peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But you know what? When it's breakfast, you don't complain. You shut up and eat it. Actually, when it comes to food in general, you shut up and eat it. So that's how my morning started. Hopefully yours is going better than that. And JP just says, coffee. Yeah, I still don't drink coffee. Wouldn't wake me up anyway, though. Alright, so let's turn a couple of these things on. Let's start with a spreadsheet. I know, because this is the excitement on the internet. You know, there's other streamers who play games. There's other streamers out there who like do unboxing videos or like figure painting and stuff like that. Me, I got spreadsheets. Get on my level, scrubs. I say that when they have like 20,000 people watching their streams. And here I am calling them out. Hello, Blizz. What are we spreadsheet? JP asked what we're spreadsheeting today. I don't know yet. This is actually kind of going to be brainstorming. We're going to be brainstorming here. Because, like, we already did the Star Trek. Okay? That's done. It's good. It's really good. And I can't wait to use it. But now we got, like... There's other things that I'd like to do, and this is kind of my perfect excuse to sit down... Well, not really sit. I'm not sitting. But to get down on it and work it out thoroughly. I mean, I could sit down and do this myself, but I also run the risk of kind of skimming over things. This time I can dedicate real time to getting it done. So, why don't we think about things that we might want to do, and hey, we can take suggestions from you guys. Anything that you would like to see converted. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with conversion. I can't read that. Who the hell decided 10-point font is supposed to be like the default? That's better. Not great, but better. Okay, that's readable for me. You gotta understand, I am blind as a bat. So, this is hard. Okay, so we're gonna go conversion modules. We're going to go with here. We're going to say base game and what do we call this? The converted module or the conversion game? I don't know. New game. There we go. Good enough for me. You're supposed to be merged. And everything should be centered. There we go. Okay. So now that we got that done, let's see what we can get on here for ideas. So, for example, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is... Maybe I should have gotten... Or maybe I should reverse these. There we go. We'll reverse those. So one of the things that I've always wanted to do was a Wheel of Time magic conversion. Does this spreadsheet have word wrap? I don't know that it does. I've never actually tried to do that. Maybe I can do it this way. Nope, that doesn't work. Well, can I do it this way? Nope, that doesn't work either. I am striking out on every single front here. Alright, fine then. We'll do it this way. And of course, since the Wheel of Time takes place in a traditional fantasy environment, we'll do Pathfinder for this. JP just says the one source. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. Instead of having wizards and sorcerers who will channel magic from, well, ironically enough, the weave, as it were, basically just using magic as we normally think of it, we'll instead strip out wizards and sorcerers for channelers. And instead of just having like this ambient magic, we can grab the magic rules from the Wheel of Time and then just institute them into the Pathfinder game. So that means it will still have fighters, rangers, fighters, rangers, rogues. We might have to get rid of paladins, clerics, and druids because they all use magic. And a paladin without magic is basically just a fighter. Let's be honest. So we get rid of druids. We get rid of paladins, clerics, wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, witches, you know, anything that casts or that uses a magical spell base will have to be gone. With one exception, we have to keep Bard. Bard simply just will not gain spell levels. Perrin doesn't have beast speak. Perrin has a wolf connection. And like it's the weird thing is it's the wolf connection and literally nothing else. Like I would be inclined to agree if we ever saw anybody else do the same thing with anything else but a wolf. But we have the Wolf Brothers, but there's no Dog Brothers, there's no Cat Brothers, there's no Horse Brothers, there's literally nothing else. So I kind of feel like if we wanted to include that, a Wolf Brother would literally have to be its own class entirely. We might be able to gain some things from the Druid and just make it very specific to wolves only. But otherwise, we would have to make something completely new from the ground up. So, that we can do that though. I mean, if we make a Wheel of Time conversion module, why don't we just take out the whole magic part and just make that Wheel of Time conversion? We can do that. So, I mean, that's on the list of things that I would like to do. Another one. I would like to do a... I'd like to do a Warhammer 40k conversion. JP says also have the Grove Ogres and their nature magic. That would be the Ogier. And you're right. But I feel like that could also probably simply be taken over by a race. We could make a unique race for them. Because they are a unique race. And so we could make a unique race with unique racial traits, saying that they can talk to trees. And they don't really talk to trees. They're just capable of, like... You know what the best description of what Ogier do is? They're basically woodbenders. They have the ability to grow a tree. They have the ability to shape the tree. They can cut the tree down and then bend it into proper shapes to make ornate furniture or molding or doors or whatever. They simply have this ability, this extra special ability to shape wood, which is a druid ability. That also might make that really, really easy for them, or really, really easy to build, because we can just borrow that ability from the druid and insert it as a racial trait. In terms of everything else, though, about them, no, it'd have to be completely unique. And it wouldn't be too hard, I don't think. JP says they also use, or Blizz says use Druid. Again, we can use parts of the Druid. JP says they also use portals. Kinda. The Ogier built the ways, but they didn't do it alone. The Ogier and the Aes Sedai worked in tandem to do that. So I can't just, like, give that to them on their own. And besides that, it wouldn't really be that require, it wouldn't be that influential inside of a game anyway. The only reason why you need an Ogier inside the ways is because all the signposts inside the ways are written in Ogier. And nobody else, for some reason, knows how to read it. I don't entirely understand why not, but no one else can read it. So you have to have an Ogier with you if you're going to travel the ways. Again, I'm thinking just race. And because they do have that language that nobody else can speak, they'll get their own language. They'll get their own ability to bend wood. They'll also probably be rather slow, but they'll also probably get, like, big advantages to things like strength. Bliss says lost language, but it's not lost. It's still actively in use. It's just nobody else in the world has bothered. JP asks, how would you do the Forsaken? That's interesting, and also probably irrelevant. And I say probably irrelevant because it's unlikely that they would show up inside of a game unless you were actually playing inside the events of the Wheel of Time books. If you wanted to go prior to or after, the Forsaken would literally not even be a thing. I mean, unless you want to go way back into history to, like, the War of Power. Then we would need rules for the Forsaken. But that would be kind of their own magic system because the Forsaken are human. They're just human. If you stab one of the Forsaken, they die. If you channel at a Forsaken, you can channel at them. The only thing that makes the Forsaken different is the fact that they're really old, really strong, and one of them, just one of them, has access to the true power. Now, the true power would need its own rules entirely. But, again, the true power is something that you probably would not need. I mean, what are the odds that you, as a player, are going to have access to the true power? Pretty much zero. I don't actually know how you would have, or how you would gain access to the true power, because the only way you could do it would be to actually play during the events of the Wheel of Time books. And even then, it would require you to play one of the Forsaken, or to somehow be inducted into their little circle. Which, I mean, I don't see it happening. So I don't think we need to really worry about it. As for using Ungrial and Sa-Ungrial, that's actually really easy because Ungrial and Sa-Ungrial are just multipliers. That's it. They're just multipliers. So however we work out how the Wheel of Time magic system works, whatever comes out of those numbers, you'll simply multiply them if you're holding either an Ungrial or a Sa-Ungrial. And there you go. That's all you gotta do for those. Now, of course, something that powerful is going to be extremely rare. However, it would also be game-breakingly powerful. Because you gotta figure, let's say that, you know, we're playing a game. Think about this. We're playing a game. And you want to, say, throw a firebolt. So you open up yourself to the source, whichever one you happen to be. If you're female, it'll be Sidar. If you're male, it'll be Sidane. So you channel fire, and you throw a firebolt, okay? So we'll have a system of equations where we'll say, okay, you're channeling how much of the power right now? Then, what is your affinity for the power going to be? Because as we remember, men and women have different affinities for the flavors of the one power. There's fire, water, earth, air, and then there's spirit. Men and women are both equal in spirit. Men tend to be stronger in fire and earth. Women tend to be stronger in air and water. So you'll have your strength in the one power, plus your affinity for using a certain element. And I don't know what else we'll have to add in there, but you'll run through this equation, and that'll give you how much damage, how much reach, whatever you have. But if you were holding an Ungrial or a Sa-Ungrial, the way they work is they're basically just lenses. And they're a lens on how much power you can draw from the beginning. So instead of your base power being, say, on a scale of 1 to 100, maybe your... I don't know, let me grab a die. Alright, I got myself a D20 here. I rolled a 16. 16 times 5. 16 times 5 is going to be 60, I think. No. 80. I think it'd be 80. Yeah, 16 times 5 is 80. So you would be operating at like 80, whatever we determine that means. But then you pick up an Ungrial. And the Ungrial says that so long as you are channeling through this, the Ungrial will boost your power by 50%. So a 0.5 increase. So now, instead of you being at power 80, you're now at power 80 plus half would be 120. And so now you've got this like 50% boost through all of your equations. And now you do more damage, you have more range, stuff like that. And of course, Sa-Ungrial are even better. So we might break it up to where like an Ungrial could be anything less than a 100% boost, and maybe Sa-Ungrial more than a 100% boost. I don't know. I'd have to go back and refresh myself on Ungrial and Sa-Ungrial to figure out what their differences is. And obviously nobody's getting Kalendor, so like don't even think about it. It's not happening. You're not getting Kalendor. JP asks, who were the desert people? I love that they use sign language. The wise ones were pretty great. The desert people are called the Aiel. The sign language is called Maiden Handspeak. And the wise ones are actually pretty great. They are not going to be like their idea or they're not going to be their own race or anything. They might have different racial traits given that they've grown up in the wastes, but they could be their own faction. And so perhaps if you wanted to play as an Aiel, you would simply say that I'm going to play an Aiel, and that means that all the normal human traits that we would normally get are out, and instead you're forced to take this alternate set of racial traits. That could really work. JP also says, I really like the idea of the Oath Rod as a mechanic. There could be an Oath Rod. Why not? I don't know what you're going to do with it. But, yeah, there could be an Oath Rod in there somewhere. JP, if you're really this interested, you should be watching The Rim of Time. Also, you should have a character named in there or something. Okay, so anyway, Wheel of Time conversion. We might actually start on that one today since there seems to be so much So much enthusiasm for it. I want to do a Warhammer 40k conversion. This is going to be a Starjammer base. For obvious reasons. The biggest problem with a 40k conversion is going to be scale. Like, everything in Warhammer is not even turned up to 11, it's turned up to 17. A typical starship in 40k literally has thousands to tens of thousands of people on it. Even rogue trader ships have thousands of people on them. Really outside the realm of Starjammer. That is, we could possibly, however, handle that with a, we could possibly handle that with a simple multiplier, though, when it comes to numbers. JP says, love the books, refuse to watch the woke butchering they made of it. Yeah, the series was bad. I watched it. I had to watch it. When it came out, I waited for everything, and I had to see what they were going to do with it. However, I mean, that's literally why I started The Rim of Time, because I said, as bad as Amazon did The Wheel of Time, there is no way that I could do anything worse than that. And so I painstakingly built myself a mod pack for RimWorld that would best kind of replicate The Wheel of Time, and said, let's do it. Let's do our own story. So far, it's worked out pretty well. The episode coming out tomorrow is kind of tragic, but I mean, RimWorld is a bit like Warhammer. It's generally awful. Alright, so we got a Warhammer 40k conversion that will use Starjammer. Something else that I want to do. I want to do a Pokemon conversion. And this, I do believe, is going to primarily utilize the Pathfinder mechanics. JP says, Star Trek Online has a Warhammer ship, the Klingon Sarcophagus ship. I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to look it up. In fact, I'm going to look it up right now, just because I want to see it. A Klingon Sarcophagus ship? No, yeah, it's right there. Hold on, let me bring this up. I'll move this up and out of the way just a little bit. No. No, like, I see where you're going, but I don't know. I think it's a bit of a stretch. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Are there any more pictures of it? There's usually more pictures towards the bottom. So that'll be from, like, the C store. I mean, it's definitely different from what the Klingons usually fly, but the ships from Warhammer are essentially these giant floating citadels and castles and everything. This is not the majesty of Warhammer ships. Let's see if I can find a good example in here. Well, I mean, there is this. Oh, that picture's really tiny. Never mind. I don't want to put that up there. Better ship, better ship, better ship, better ship. Can I just get, like, the whole image right here? Yeah, I can blow that up. Oh, Blizz is out of here. Bye, Blizz. Don't forget to go over to her channel and subscribe, too. Alright, so here's some Warhammer ships. It's a little bit fuzzy because I had to blow the image up a lot. Well, maybe I don't have to blow the image up a lot. No, I kind of do, actually. But, I mean, you look at these things, and these things are basically just flying foundations with cities on top of them. I mean, every one of these ships is basically a flying hive city. You have your spires on top, and then you have the hive underneath. There is nothing like this in Star Trek. And I mean, I was pointing to this one, but look at this thing. This thing has a giant castle on top. And all of them have, you know, cities and buildings and spires and towers and everything else on top of them. And the rest of the ship is basically just a ferry. JP says Citadel ships, the Voth City ships. Kinda? A little bit? I don't even know what this thing is. It's like Warhammer tried to copy the Death Star. No, I really have no idea what that is, and there's no way in hell I can read that tiny text. And if I try to blow it up, it's still unreadable. So, yeah, I mean, there's no comparison here. And again, all of these ships have like tens of thousands of people on them. If we were to go back to, if we went back to the rules in Starjammer, the biggest ship in Starjammer is the Dreadnought, and that's like 500 people. These ships probably kill 500 people in a day. Through neglect. Not even like active malice or anything. There's 500 people on these ships that just get forgotten that they exist every day. So yeah, scale, kind of an issue. But otherwise, I mean, things that we're going to need for a Warhammer 40k conversion. Obviously, we're going to need Astartes. That is going to be either a template or it's going to be its own race entirely. I tend to lean towards template because, I mean, that's what being an Astartes is. You take a person and then you just inject everything into them. Which is what a template does. JP says a Voth City ship carries over 100,000 people. Okay, to be fair though, I mean, lots of Starfleet vessels also carry a couple thousand people. Sometimes more. Thousands of people in Star Trek isn't really that big. Now, 100,000 people in Star Trek is big. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of people there. But it's not the, you know, dozens to maybe a couple hundred that Starjammer does. Which means that technically, by the rules of the Star Trek module that we just did, if you could get up to having a Tier 7 ship, you would have something like a carrier, like my my personal Aatrox carrier, but with only like maybe 300 people on it, and that's just like, I don't know what the skeleton crew on a carrier would be, but pretty sure it's not 300 people. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I mean, no one's really going to be getting up that high, I don't think. So, anyway, moving on. Pokemon conversion. Since I've been doing a lot of Pokemon games lately on my channel, I have kind of been rolling around the idea of a Pokemon conversion. That one actually I think could be really interesting. We'll take Pathfinder, strip out the bestiary. Like the entire bestiary just gone. Not even cats and dogs. We just take the bestiary out and we add in the Pokédex. Now the Pokédex is actually really good because it's already got different regions and everything. It's got the different environments that Pokemon live in. So, depending on the environment you're in, whether it's grasslands, whether it's forest, jungle, desert, tundra, it's already set out for you. I can literally sort through Pokemon by terrain. So that's easy. All we really need are rules for how do the Pokemon actually mechanically operate. Like, how do we determine what power is inside of Pokemon? And then, how do we catch them? So we'll need rules for Pokeballs and such. And JP says Doom for Pathfinder. Wait, do you want a Doom game? Is that what you're asking? JP also said, never considered Pokemon as a tabletop game. I don't think anyone ever did. I may be one of the first people to ever try and do a Pokemon conversion game. But I think that it could be really fun, because imagine this. I mean, everybody is familiar with playing a Dungeons & Dragons game. So, you and 3 friends meet up in a tavern. One of you is the fighter, one of you is the ranger, one of you is the rogue, one of you is the wizard. Okay? Fighter fights, rogue sneaks, ranger shoots, wizard casts spells. So, I mean, there you go. However, imagine this. What if we just took away all the swords, daggers, bows, arrows, magic, everything, and instead you meet up in a tavern, and now you get to go out there. And instead of having weapons, you'll have Pokemon. Which means that you get waylaid by other people on the road. Maybe they're bandits and they're trying to steal people's money, or Pokédollars, or whatever we happen to use. So they're all threatening you, and you just reach down, grab a ball off your belt, and just fling. It could work pretty well. It also means that as you're traveling from town to town, depending on what kind of region you're in, you'll be able to find more Pokemon, maybe capture them. You'll be able to train them up. Pokemon will gain experience just like you would. Perhaps you'll get new abilities as a trainer that would help you, boost your Pokemon further. Not just the attack, Pokemon item, or run that you get in the game, but the ability to use actual shouts and commands to help boost your Pokemon in battle. And maybe not every day, or, every move, but just say like once per day, you could give a shout to a Pokemon to make them, run forward. And JP says, adventuring with pets, will they evolve? Of course they'll evolve. They will evolve. I mean, it wouldn't be a Pokemon game if they didn't do that. And the nice thing is, all the rules are right there. So, Pokemon has, always had, and probably always will have a hard level cap. Pokemon go from 0 to 100. All the Pokemon, every time. So that's locked in. As far as I know, and mind you, I kind of wish Blizz was still here because she knows more about Pokemon than I do. But as far as I know, most Pokemon evolve at the same point across all the generations. Like a Pichu will always evolve to a Pikachu at level 24, for example. I don't know if that's actually true, but it's an example. Just run with it. Okay? A Bulbasaur will always evolve to an Ivysaur at level 16 or something. So these rules are already set in stone, and we just have to abide by them. Similarly, if the Pokemon requires a certain item, like if you wanted a Raichu, you would have to go out there, find or buy a Thunderstone, so that you could then give to your Pikachu, and it would evolve then. Meaning that you could just continue to evolve your Pikachu as far as you wanted, until you either found it, Or if you just never wanted your Pikachu to evolve at all, you keep going all the way to 100. Tuck says, I don't think it's quite that set in stone, but in general, yes. Well, if it's not that set in stone, we may have to make some adjustments here and there. Part of me would like to simply use the entire Pokedex, which I think is up to 1,000 now. Tux also says, I do know some have some very specific requirements. Yes, they do. Like, I know some of them require you to evolve them during a specific time of the day. Some of them require you to evolve them with a certain amount of friendship. Some require items. But all of that is already written down. The work is already done. All we need to do is, if there are some conflicts, like this generation says that it evolves at this level, and this one says it evolves 3 levels later. All we got to do is sit down and say, okay, we have this one, let's split the difference, and it'll be this level now, hard level. This is where the evolution point is. That's like the worst we're going to have of it. So this would actually be very, very easy to do. It will just need some very complicated math to sit down and figure out how much, well, not even complicated math, but we'll just need to do some math to find out how much XP do they need to get from one level to the next. How is, how will the stats work? And I did some previous work on this, but it needs to be updated. But my thought was this. Every Pokemon has, I think, 6 stats? I think it's 6. So you got HP and Speed, which are the singles. Then you've got Attack and Defense, and then Special Attack and Defense. And each one of them can go from presumably 1. I don't know if you can get a 0 in those. But even if we did, they can go from 0 to 255. Meaning that if we assumed that a Pokemon would have a cap of so many points at level 100, we could say you gain X number of points per level, and I could even let you spend those points however you wanted. Meaning that if you would like to have a Lightning Bruiser Slowpoke, you could do it. Most Slowpokes would probably have like lots of defense, but if you wanted to put all the points into speed, Speed Poke. There you go. How about a Machop with high special attack? Or a Kadabra with a high defense? Or a Magikarp with literally anything higher than 1? You'd have the ability to kind of distribute the points as you see fit, and make your Pokemon how you want it. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to change the type that way. You won't be able to change what it learns that way. But you would be able to actually train your Pokemon to be the way you thought it should be. Another idea that I had was that Pokemon do have certain jumps when they do evolve. A Stage 2 Pokemon will always be stronger than a Stage 1 Pokemon. Even if the Stage 1 Pokemon is a higher level. There is a certain point where the level will be high enough that they'll be kind of equal, but until you reach that point, the Stage 2 Pokemon will always be stronger. Meaning that, say, Stage 1 Pokemon would have D4s for their damage, and Stage 2 Pokemon would have D8s, and Stage 3 Pokemon would use D12s. So your Abra would be a D4, your Kadabra would be a D8, your Alakazam a D12. And for those that only have 2 stages, we could go with like a D6 to a D12. And those that only have 1 stage, we would have a to have a progression through all the dice. So they would probably start like a D4, D6, D8, D10, D12 as they leveled up. JP asks, does that make Professor Oak like the DM from the old D&D cartoon? Pops up once in a while to advise? Maybe. I don't know. Could be. Would explain why he never seems to do anything. But seemingly gets all the credit. Because, I mean, that kind of describes being a DM. But yeah, I think that a Pokemon conversion could be a lot of fun. And honestly, whew, at the rate that we're going, I mean, I have enough tabletop ideas that I could run an entire tabletop channel. Like, there are not enough hours in the day for the number of tabletop games that I would like to run. Because, like, another one that I would like to do in the same vein, I want to do a Digimon conversion module too. Because, like, I didn't have Pokemon when I grew up. Alright? I just wasn't into that whole thing, and we didn't have the money for it. I didn't have that. But what I grew up with, I had Digimon on TV. I grew up with the Digimons. And I love them. So if we're going to go ahead and do a Pokemon conversion, we can absolutely do a Digimon conversion too. Again, strip out basically all the classes for just Tamer, and we could have partners. Instead of having a collection of Pokemon, you would basically just have like one partner to play with. Maybe two, but probably just one. And it would be all about training up your partner, getting them stronger. It would be about training up your Tamer, getting them stronger. The bond between them. It would be a lot of fun, I think. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And then depending on which Digimon series we wanted to use as the base, there could be some other stuff thrown in. I would tend toward just going for the original one because it was the most basic. However, I would not necessarily be opposed to making different rules for different seasons. For example, I mean, if we wanted to throw in Digi Armor, we could throw in the idea of picking up Digi Eggs. Season 3 had the mod cards. Season 4 was dumb, so we're not going to talk about that one. Season 5 had the burst mechanic. So, I mean, that was kind of cool, too. And JP says, Biomutant could make for a good template. Biomutant has lots of goals, areas to travel to, monsters to defeat, villages to free. Okay, you're not wrong about that. However, like, I haven't finished Biomutant yet, and I was going to kind of save my thoughts till the end of that, but if you want a sneak peek, Biomutant is boring. Sorry, but somebody had to say it. Like, there's a reason that Biomutant has such a low score on Steam. The problem with Biomutant is that the map is gorgeous, and it is so full. It is so very full. The map for Biomutant is a bit like the map for Minecraft, okay? Half of the appeal of Minecraft is going out there, exploring, seeing what's in it, make it your own. But when you take out the exploration, and you take out, you know, the wonder of what's around the next corner, and the ability to say, what can I build now? What do you have left in Minecraft? Fucking nothing. And do you know what you have left in Biomutant after you take out the map and the exploration? Fucking nothing. The story in Biomutant is shallow and preachy and just... Every time the characters in Biomutant speak, I want to wrap my hands around their narrow little necks and continue to squeeze until something pops. Because they try to pull off this, like, this old Chinese fortune cookie kind of wisdom thing, speaking about how you need to find balance and you need to do your inner struggle and everything else. And it's like, number one, you have no idea what you're talking about. Okay? You don't have any idea. Number two, I don't need you to say it, okay? I'm already motivated. I'm here. I'm playing the game. You don't need to motivate me further. So you don't need to tell me that I have to grow as a person, or I have to do these things to help people. Look, if I didn't want to help people already, I would have been already, like, leaving these people in cages or just slaughtering entire villages. Okay? I don't need you to tell me what my own motivations are. I have my motivations. They're in me. So stop telling me what my motivations are. And the biggest one so far that has pissed me off the most in Biomutant is the fact that the world is fucking dead. Every time I turn around to talk to an NPC, I'm like, who are you? What are you doing here? What makes you interesting? They're all hollow shells. None of them have anything to say. Nothing of consequence, nothing of even convenience. It's all this, like, canned speech from an NPC that doesn't mean anything, doesn't relate to anything. The NPCs are one of the worst things in Biomutant, because I would like to go and talk to people, but there's no one to talk to. And I'm afraid that even if I did talk to them, they wouldn't have anything to say, because every single person just has this canned fortune cookie wisdom stuffed into their brain. JP said, note to self, don't mention Biomutant. No, this was a rant that I'm going to be going over at the end of Biomutant as well. So, I mean, you're not sparking anything that's not happening before. But Biomutant is just such a disappointment. It really is. I was really, really excited to play this game, and it's hollow. Okay? It's fluffy. It looks great on the outside, but it is absolutely vacuous on the inside. Now, does that mean that we could not take away some things from Biomutant? Yes, we could. The idea of building a rich world with places to explore, secrets to find, and treasures to pick up, that's great. I love it. I'm here for it. But that's not a game. I mean, it is a game, but, like, you could do so much more with it. And I really wish they had. I really wish they had. The combat is a little janky, but I think it's because I'm using a keyboard and mouse, and I do believe it's really made for a controller. I think Tux even said that it was made for a controller. And that makes sense. Like, the ability to use these psi abilities requires me to press the middle mouse button. Okay, anybody who's ever doing game developing, please take my advice here. The middle mouse button is a terrible button. Okay? The middle mouse button on almost every mouse is the scroll wheel. Unless you have, like, an auxiliary middle mouse button on your mouse somewhere. Like, I've played with mice that have buttons on either side of the scroll wheel. Those can be useful. But using the actual mouse wheel button is terrible. Just don't do it. The mouse is made for you to use with 2 fingers. Okay? So you're going to have to move one of those fingers over to do that, which means that you're precluding yourself from doing, like, anything else. And, for example, to use some of your abilities in Biomutant, it requires you to bring up the menu, which is, of course, the middle mouse button, and then you have to use the left mouse button at the same time. It's super awkward. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just super awkward to do it. Just don't do it, okay? Just because the button is there does not mean you have to use it. I just want to get that out there, okay? Don't do it. It's a bad button to use. So I'm sure that if I was using a controller for a Biomutant, that would probably be like my L2 button or R2 button to bring up the menu, and then just press another one. That would be much more intuitive. But unfortunately, I don't really have a good controller right now. I have an old Xbox controller that still runs on AA's, and it eats them like Skittles. So yeah, new controller at some point in my future when I can afford it, which I definitely cannot afford a new controller right now, but someday. So anyway, long tangent, but tangent that needed to be had. Tuck says, I don't remember saying it sounds like it's made for a controller, but it sounds to me like it's made for a controller. It's definitely made for a controller. I thought it was you that said that. Maybe it was somebody else. And if it was somebody else, then I'm sorry I did not ascribe you the credit that you rightly deserve. Anyway, though, you're right, though. I think that the idea of the Biomutant map for the Digimon conversion game could be awesome, especially if it takes place in the digital world, because there's like so much weird stuff that ends up in the digital world from the human world that it would essentially be the same as the Biomutant map. You'd have these lush forests and expansive fields and hills and mountains and everything, but with like a random car stuck in the middle of nowhere. Or a diner out in the middle of a field. Weird things happen in Digimon just like they happen in Biomutant. Now, Biomutant, of course, has the excuse that it actually takes place in the same world that all these things happened. It's just in the future. Digimon does not have that excuse. It's just bizarre. But the bizarre nature of it was half the fun. But I do think that the ability to go through and say you've got your partner with you, whatever that partner happens to be, they would be restricted to the rookie level, of course, as they're by your side, but you'd have the opportunity in any fight to go ahead and digivolve them. They would have to be a certain level, of course, to be able to do it in the first place. But we could have a mechanic to digivolve them, and we could even have kind of a stamina meter. So when they evolve, they have a certain amount of time that they can be evolved. And not only would they have this time limit on them, but you could even go into debt on that time limit. Meaning that if you go over your time limit, when you're done with the fight, you don't even get a rookie partner afterwards. Your partner goes all the way back to the in training form. Or maybe even all the way back to the fresh form. Maybe even all the way back to an egg. Depending on how much you exhaust the reserves on your Digimon. However, similarly, because Digimon do go back to eggs, it means that you don't have to worry about your partner dying. Which I think is a really cool thing to use. Because it kind of opens up the sacrifice play. Now, Pokemon would be interesting because we would have to make a decision. And we would have to make this decision pretty early on. Faint or die. Now, from what limited knowledge I have of Pokemon, there is a really, really big difference between the anime and the game, and then there's the manga. From what I've been told, the manga does not pull its punches on anything. People die. Like, when you think about, you've got a Charizard. A Charizard is capable of breathing fire. Fire hot enough that it could come right out of a volcano and melt stone. I think that was kind of the description they were given, wasn't it? Something like that. At any rate, you have people who have Charizards in the world. And the Pokemon world in the mangas is not all fluffy puppies and warm sunshine. No, the heat that you're feeling is because a diamond thief has bought himself a Charizard and is using it to melt the walls of the bank. And what happens when the police show up? Well, the police are going to show up in their cars because there are cars in Pokemon, and maybe they've got things like Machamps or, whatever that can help them out with arresting, a criminal. But what happens when they turn their Charizard and say, okay, toss that flamethrower onto the cars? People are going to die. Similarly, as I understand it, in the manga, some of the Pokemon battles in places like the gyms, or even just on the road, they turn into death matches. As in, yeah, if you have like your Nidoking or whatever, who grabs your Pokemon and decides to like jump into the air and pile drive it head first into the ground, something is going to have to break. It's either going to be the ground or your Pokemon, and the ground has a whole lot more experience being hard. It's my understanding that the manga in Pokemon is like rated M for like mature adults, as in like you're probably collecting retirement. So very, very early on, like at the beginning, we are going to have to make some kind of decision. Are we doing fainting or are we doing dying? Now, me personally, I lean towards the latter. I feel like it adds more stakes. The idea is that you don't really want to get into a death match. But you better be ready for one if it shows up. And seeing as how it is Pokemon, like if you're playing Digimon and your partner was to just die, that would be devastating because you don't get another partner. This has been well established in the Digimon universe. Your partner is your partner. Not your choice of partner, not one of many partners, it's your partner. And if your partner dies, you are now partnerless. You don't have one anymore. Pokemon, on the other hand, if your Pikachu dies, all you have to do is find a field out somewhere and look around for jagged yellow tails. And you can find yourself another Pikachu. Let's see, I missed a couple of these. JP says Bulbasaur Fire Department. No, not Bulbasaur. You want Squirtle Fire Department. Tuck says that's my preference. I'm assuming the dead Pokemon theory. And then JP says, steaks. What Pokemon does that come from? That comes from a Tauros. Okay? That comes from a Tauros. Now, what do you do with the three tails? I don't know. But you can absolutely have steak for dinner and mount the head on the wall. And I'll be honest with you, after playing a little bit of Violet and meeting a Tauros, I ain't gonna feel bad. I don't like Tauros. Tauros are mean. But yeah, I'm more inclined to go with the whole death idea in Pokemon because, number one, I don't really intend to shy away from the idea that trainers are targets. Like, everybody knows that trainers shouldn't be targets, and the games don't even let you target trainers. But if you're part of an enemy team, Like Team... What do they... Let's see. Team Rocket was the first one. In Pearl, it was Team Galactic. I remember that. And... in Violet, it's Team Star, although they're different. But either way, the enemy team, usually they have some kind of plan for world domination or galactic domination. There's others, but I don't know them because I haven't played them. There's like a Team Plasma in one of them, I think. I don't know what they wanted, but I think Team Plasma was a thing. But either way, it always kind of bothered me. It's like, so what you're telling me is there's like this kid. Okay, there's this kid who's like wandering around and sticking their nose in all of your business, and they keep beating your lieutenants in all these Pokemon battles. Why don't you just like hide behind a corner or something, wait for them to walk around the corner, and then have just Hitmonchan just dash out from behind the corner, grab their neck, and turn their head around backwards. Just quick, grab, twist, click, done. Look at that. All of your problems are gone. Like, if Team Galactic had done that to my trainer in Pearl, they would have actually succeeded with all of their plans. Fancy that! It's a weird concept, I know, but why didn't they do it? Well, the obvious reason is because that would be horrifying, especially for a children's game. But I mean, that would be the smart move. So, well, between trainers, you might say, okay, we're going to do this legitimately. No death matches when my Pokemon is down. No coup de grace. And obviously, trainers are off the table. But when you come across the enemy, it's like, yeah, go for the trainer. As a matter of fact, I think that actually happened. If I remember right, Death Battle. Anybody else watch Death Battle? Death Battle's great. But Death Battle did one that I watched because, you know, it's great, and they had Greymon in it. They did Greymon versus Charizard. And the one thing that they determined to be like the key for winning is, number one, Greymon is stronger, like by leagues. Comparing Pokemon and Digimon is a bit like comparing Marvel and DC. Marvel might be better, but the power scaling for DC is just unfathomable. The same thing is true for Pokemon versus Digimon. Yeah, Tuck says, I always wondered why Pokemon ignored the trainer. That's because, well, that would be unfair. But again, the Pokemon manga is way more brutal, and they may actually do that in the manga. I don't know, I haven't read it. But anyway, in the Death Battle, they were talking about it, and in the Death Battle, they said, Greymon beats Charizard, even Mega Charizard, because they did use Mega Charizard. But they had Mega Charizard versus Metal Greymon, or not Metal Greymon, but War Greymon. So, I mean, they both had their Mega forms. But they said, War Greymon is stronger than Mega Charizard. That may be true, but what really cinched the fight, sorry, is the fact that what if Tai, Agumon's partner, just went up and frickin' decked Red? Like, what if Tai tackled Red to the ground and just beat his head into a bowl? War Greymon is an individual. War Greymon doesn't need Tai to tell him what to do. War Greymon knows what to do. He needs Tai for his power. It's the bond between them that allows War Greymon to become War Greymon. And technically speaking, if something was to happen to Tai, he probably wouldn't be War Greymon anymore. But without Red, Charizard was absolutely useless. Pokemon require orders from their trainer to function. No trainer, no orders, nothing. Charizard was essentially just a wild Pokemon at that point. And we all know what happens to wild Pokemon. So yeah, I mean, if you were to come up against a rival team, whatever it happened to be, in a tabletop game, they would probably just say, yeah, we got no qualms about going after the trainers. We want these people stopped, no matter what. So, you better be ready to do the same thing. Now, that could be like a separate set of rules, so we could have dead Pokemon and trainer targeting in one set of optional rules. And we could just insert these rules as needed, or take them out as needed. There's no reason why we couldn't just insert them into the middle of a game or take them out in the middle of a game. It's not really going to break anything. But I do think it's an option that needs to be on the table. We already technically have that in Digimon because, well, lots of people attack tamers. It was like their favorite pastime. And the Digimon in the series spent more time, well, not more time, but an equal amount of time protecting their tamer as they did fighting off the enemy Pokemon. And for a lot of them, that actually was like the big kick they needed to Digivolve in the first place, was the need to be stronger to protect their tamer. So those rules are kind of already built into Digimon. But yeah, I'd like to do those too. What else we want to do? So JP suggested a big one. JP said, would you convert Final Fantasy? That is a big one. That's a hard one. However, it's not really that hard because it's difficult. But you know what? We can put that on here. Final Fantasy conversion. This, of course, is going to be a Pathfinder base. The biggest problem with doing a Final Fantasy conversion is which one? There's 15 of them now, 16 of them now, and they're all different. And I don't just mean they're different because, you know, different stories and such. There are a few things that are consistent across the games. The magic system is consistent, kinda. Every game has Fire, Fyra, Firaga, sometimes Firaja. Every system has the same summons, more or less. That aside, however, they're all different. Now, I'm gonna have to assume... Wait, JP says it has to be one of Blitzball. Well, you said Blizzball. Does that mean that Blizz has to be the ball? Because I'm not saying no. Thank God she's gone now. Here's the problem. And this is a problem that pops up starting with Final Fantasy 4, I want to say. I think it started with 4. Maybe it was 6. I'm not sure. But the first Final Fantasy, the first several Final Fantasies, including Tactics, we might have to actually borrow a lot from Tactics. But they let you pick the class you wanted your characters to be. So you could play a warrior, you could play a thief, you could play a white mage, a black mage, a red mage, a green mage, a multicolored technicolor mage. There were also dragoons and lancers and things like that. And when you got into, like, Tactics, you had some weird ones like monks, samurai, ninjas. You had oracles and calculators. And, of course, my personal favorite, the summoners. That would require us to sit down and make a class, a tabletop 20-level class for each one of these classes, taking the class features from Final Fantasy and integrating them into a tabletop environment. We would be basically kind of borrowing the scaling from Pathfinder, but applying different traits and abilities to it from Final Fantasy. And I don't have a problem with that. I think that's great. The problem is that only works up to like Final Fantasy 4 or 6. I'm not sure. Because after that, we didn't have classes anymore. I never played 6, but I did play 7. So, here's what I know about 7. In 7, your characters are Cloud Strife, who hits things with a really big sword, Tifa Lockhart, who punches hard, Barrett, what's his last name? I forget what his last name is. You have Barrett, who's got the gun arm. He shoots things. Red 13, the fire cat dog. You have Yuffie, no last name given as far as I know, who is a ninja. And literally, that's what her class would be ninja. You have Vincent, who... I don't know what the hell Vincent is. And then you have Kate Sith, who is... I don't know what Kate Sith is either, honestly. But, do they actually translate into other things? Well, let's see. Cloud's a fighter, obviously. Fighter, warrior... Yeah, warrior, I guess it would be, for Final Fantasy. So Cloud's a warrior. Okay. Tifa's a monk. That much is obvious. Red 13. Red 13 is probably also going to qualify as a monk. Despite the fact that he is a flaming cat dog, all he does is bite and kick. He's basically just a monk. Yuffie is, of course, a ninja, obviously. So, Barrett and Vincent. One of them uses a gun arm, one of them just uses a gun. They're going to be rangers. I think they're still called rangers. Hold on, let me see if I can pull up the actual class list from Final Fantasy Tactics. Just so I make sure I've got all this right. Final Fantasy Tactics classes. Oh, excuse me, jobs. Final Fantasy Tactics called them jobs. So here we go. So we've got... Okay, they've got Squire. They've got Squire who turns into Knight, or Squire who turns into Archer. So Barrett and Vincent are basically going to be archers. Because I don't think that there is anything else that really fills the whole gunslinger thing. Cloud is probably going to be a knight. Maybe a samurai. Maybe. Because he is pretty specialized. Whereas Tifa is a monk. So they can't both be knights. And Tifa's not exactly more advanced than Cloud is. So Cloud is probably a samurai. Tifa's a monk. Yuffie obviously is a ninja. She can steal like a thief, but she is a ninja. Absolutely. Let's see. As for the other ones. So on the other side, we've got Chemist, who becomes Wizard, Time Mage, Calculator, Priest, Oracle. Kate Sith is probably a Bard. Probably a Bard. I don't know. Maybe. It makes sense. Am I missing anybody? Oh, I'm missing Sid, I think. Sid's playable in 7, right? Sid's obviously a Lancer. He uses a lance and he has the jump ability. So this makes it kind of easy for us to go back and take this back, but we have to go back to the classes to do it. The same thing is true in 8. In 8, you have Squall, Zack, Selfie, I believe, Kistis, Renoa, and who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. Vincent. Vincent's who I'm missing. So Cloud, or not Cloud, Squall, he of course uses the gun blade, And that's about it. Of course, he's got summons, he's got magic, but his thing is the Gunblade. He's either a knight or a samurai. Selfie uses nunchucks, but that's really the only thing that she's got going for her. She doesn't really have reach or anything like that. Her accuracy is a little bit better, but by and large, maybe I should go by their limit breaks, actually. Yeah, their limit breaks would actually be easier. Okay, so hold on a second. Let me pull this up. So, Final Fantasy VIII limit breaks. Alright, so here we go. So we've got Squall, Kistis, Zell, Selphie, Rinoa, and Irvine. And then there's temporary characters, but we're not going to worry about them right now. Because the point isn't that they have them, the point is that we have to translate them back to being some kind of class for you to take. So Squall has the Renzo Kuken. And it doesn't really matter which one you get, it all involves him beating something to death with his sword. Special sword, sure, but he's just beating something to death with a sword. So he's very firmly either a knight or he is a samurai. One or the other. Kistis, her thing is blue magic. So she gets to absorb blue magic from different things and then cast it back to people. She's pretty firmly a wizard. And actually, let me duplicate this and take this back. So is there a blue mage? I don't think there is. We've got chemist, wizard, priest, oracle, time mage. Was the oracle like a blue mage? I don't remember now. Let's see. Lancer, mediator, summoner, dancer, bard, mime. What did the oracle do? They have mystic arts. Manipulate the mystic weave of the universe to inflict harm. So Umbra, blind. Oh wait, so they were basically a they were a buffer and debuff. Well, they were just a debuffer. They're a conditions mage. Okay. So maybe mime would be the equivalent. So abilities here. The mime job command, imitate an ally's actions limited to the abilities employed by normal units. That's about the closest we're going to get to a blue mage, I think. So, Kistis would be a mime. Zell is obviously a monk. All he does is punch things really hard. And some of his moves in here are actually carryovers from Final Fantasy VII. So, he's just a monk. Selphie has the ability slot. Right, so she just gets a slot machine, and if things line up, then she gets things. I have no idea what the hell she translates to. So, I mean, she gets the 4 abilities. Wait, no, I went back too far. So her abilities are Wall, Full Cure, Rapture, which does damage, I believe, and then the End, which is the only thing that can actually one-hit kill bosses. It almost never happens. I don't know that she translates to anything. I'm going to skip her. Who cares? Rinoa. So she actually has 2, depending on where you use her. Combine and Angel Wing. Combine, she uses her dog to perform certain abilities. There is no job in here that has a companion. But I mean, I guess that would kind of make her a summoner? Even though her dog is like already there? Her angel wing, however, she just casts random magic from her stockpile of magic, which is absolutely a wizard. So Renault is basically either a summoner or a wizard. Irvine just shoots people. And for his limit break, he just shoots people with better ammo. Because shit's expensive, yo. Bullets are expensive. So, I mean, he just shoots people. He's very clearly an archer. He uses a rifle, but he's a ranger. He's an archer. So these do translate backwards. It all comes back to what is the specific role they're supposed to be playing. Now, you want Blitzball. So that's going to require us to go ahead to Final Fantasy X. So Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy series. Somewhere in here there's got to be a link to 10. Right? Commercial, wait, settings, synopsis, spin-off, hold on. I don't want spin-offs, I want... somewhere in here. Alright, how about this? Final Fantasy X. No, not 12. No, there we go. Final Fantasy X. Oh, JP says it's not needed. That was just for Blizz's fun. Hey, I'm still up for Blizzball. Okay, so characters. So, like, there's no real... There's no real, roles in here. Player characters. Okay, so overdrives. So we've got several characters here with overdrives. I mean, Titus, all he does is use a sword, and he sometimes kicks a blitzball. He's a knight, if not a samurai. Yuna, summoner, obviously. Waka, archer. He throws a ball, but still. Lulu is a wizard, obviously, and all she does is just throw more magic. Kimari, obviously a lancer, including his ability to jump. Auron is absolutely a samurai. In fact, that's kind of his implication in the game. So if, like, Titus was a knight, Auron is a samurai. Riku is either a thief or a ninja, probably just a thief, honestly. And Seymour is not even a player character. Why is he here? So again, it all has to come back to the job system. And I'm inclined to use the tactics job system just because it is the most comprehensive. There are more jobs in Final Fantasy, or there are jobs in Final Fantasy 1 and 2, but not as many. That being said, however, I am absolutely up for doing every single one of these. I mean, it might take us a while, but I'm up for it. Okay, so yeah, I mean we can leave this. So Final Fantasy conversion package. I'm up for it. I also saw that Doom got mentioned. Was that... I haven't forgotten that. Was that because you wanted like a Doom conversion? Because I don't know if there's a whole lot to do there. That's basically just kind of Starjammer, but replace the aliens with demons. I mean, I can do it if you want, but it does seem a little on the kind of boring side. I'm not sure if that would make for a good game. But we can still do it. Also, if you've got any other suggestions for things that you might like to see, let me know now. I'll add it to the list. We can absolutely add anything you want to a list on here. If you want me to do an Animal Crossing conversion, I will figure out a way to do it. I don't know if I can make farming fun, but I will try. Tuck says Doom, everything is the same plus demons. Yeah, that's basically it. It would basically turn Starjammer into Event Horizon. Tux also says there would need to be a finisher mechanic for modern Doom games. That's actually not that hard. It's just a conditional ability. Just say that, you get to pick this one finisher you have, or you get this one finisher you have depending on what weapon you're carrying. But you can only use it on an enemy that is below 10% health. So similar to how Starjammer has a crit or a damage threshold on some of your larger ships, where you have to do X amount of damage before you can hurt them. You would say that the enemy has to be less than 10% before you can try to finish them. The problem there is that in Doom, the enemies will flash when you can finish them. On the tabletop, I'm not obligated to tell you that the enemy is ready to be finished. I could hint at it if I wanted to be so generous, but I don't have to tell you, which means that you would have to just kind of batter something until you thought it was maybe weak enough, or just take a chance. However, there is one alternate solution. There is an alternate solution now that I think about it. Hold on, let me pull this up. Because Pathfinder does have finishers. When we come in here to combat, we're going to come down, 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 move actions, full round actions. Coup de grace. Tuck says just when an opponent is killed, they're stunned instead. Another attack kills them. If the character makes a melee attack and describes in graphic detail how they kill the thing, they heal. Well, maybe. We'll have to think about that. The fact that you could heal means that I could actually throw some really nasty stuff at you. I mean, we could turn this into an absolute bloodbath. But, just in case we wanted to go this way, coup de grace. As a full round action, you can use a melee weapon to deliver a coup de grace against a helpless opponent. And they have the pronunciation wrong here. I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's supposed to be coup de grace. But I intend to pronounce it wrong this entire time. You can also use a bow or a crossbow, provided you are adjacent to the target. Now, you automatically hit and score a critical hit if the defender survives the damage, which is already automatically a crit. He must make a fortitude save DC 10 plus the damage dealt, or die. A rogue also gets extra sneak attack damage against a helpless opponent when delivering the coup de grace. This is good. And I've had people use coup de grace. In fact, I had a druid once who specialized in coup de grace. Pissed off my DM. to absolutely no end. And he finally just like flipped the table. Well, he didn't literally flip the table, but he was about to flip the table when I coup de grace his ending bad guy. And you know how easy it was for me to break his game? I took a druid. Just to give you an idea of how broken druids are, okay? I took a druid. I took a spear, because druids can use spears. And I took a mountain lion, or a cougar, whatever you want to call it, as my animal companion. And he's like, do you need anything else? I'm like, nope, I'm good. He's like, you're sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You don't want like any other equipment or anything? Nope, I'm good. Okay. So we went through the fight, and the DM quickly realized the mistake. So, what happened is... Where's the bestiary? Where's my bestiary? There it is. Bestiary. Is it going to be under cougar or mountain lion? I'm not sure. C. C-H. C-L-C-O. There's no cougar here. Ooh, actually, mountain lion might be filed under lion, comma, mountain. Where's the L's? Leshy, Linorms, no. Mythical lion, mountain lion. Here we go. It's just under lions. Okay, so it's a medium-sized animal. It's got some good stuff, you know, low light vision, scent, it's all good. So, it has the ability to grab. It also has the ability to pounce and rake. These abilities came in very handy because when the animal is grabbed, or when the enemy is grabbed, while they're inside of the grapple, they can be, under the right circumstances, construed as helpless. Especially if I then have my cat knock them down. Once they're on the ground, they are helpless. So all I had to do was say, have my mountain lion pounce, which could knock them down, or grapple and then knock them down. Then, with my druid adjacent to them, as a full round action, take spear, stab. And so my druid and my mountain lion were a force of God walking through a battlefield. Like when you see that one big bad guy, or sometimes even the hero, who just walks through a crowd of enemies and they just one-shot everything as they walk through. This guy swings, grab, break arm, break leg, discard. This other guy swings, grab, break arm, trip, leave. This other guy pulls a knife, grab, remove knife, stab. Another person attacks, grab his arm, throw him across the room. That was my druid and mountain lion. Everybody would come to attack us, and we would just grab, trip, pounce, whatever, coup de grace. Until we got to the very end of the game, and everybody knew what was coming. There's this great big special, like, sorcerer. But he's a sorcerer, which means that his defenses are kinda eh. He's got lots of power, but he doesn't have a whole lot of defense. So, again, everybody engages. The archer shoots arrows. The fighter runs in to engage him. My druid and my cat just walk over. And like 3 turns later, we get there. And then I'm just like, alright, pounce. Okay, you pounce. Does it hit? Roll dice. Yeah, it hits. Okay, does it tackle him to the ground? Roll dice. Yes, he's tackled. Please don't. Nope, I'm doing it. I roll for coup de grace. He's dead. And that was the end of that game. He didn't let me play his games anymore. Can't imagine why. So coup de grace as a finisher is already in here, and it works well. We'll leave it at that. It works well. Now, this, of course, says that you have to do this to a helpless opponent. Helpless is kind of specific, though. Technically, it says here, a helpless character is paralyzed, held, bound, sleeping, unconscious, or otherwise completely at an opponent's mercy. It's really specific, though, and really hard to pull off, so a Doom game would need to be a little bit more... a little bit more lenient on that. Instead of having them helpless, I think that you should be able to... to use it whenever you want. However, I think what I might do in return is, since you can use it whenever you want, lower the Fortitude save DC. Maybe get rid of the 10 at all and simply make the Fortitude save the damage dealt. Continue to make it a full round action. So you're going to want a weapon that does much higher damage. So you're going to want to specialize in things like great axes, great swords, things like that. Because you're going to want that high damage, maybe even some exotic weapons. But in return, I mean, it'll be easier to survive it, but easier to do it. You could technically try a finisher on every turn. I would also probably have to make sure that there's a drawback to it. For example, attempting a finisher would also leave you flat-footed. So you lose any defense that you had on that one. You're now down from your normal armor class to your flat-footed AC. Which I guess, if you don't have any dexterity to begin with, maybe you don't care about that. But I will point out that the Doom guy, he's pretty dexterous. He's pretty agile. So maybe you want to be a little bit more careful with when you use your finishers. But we can do that. I'm up for investigating this. I do think this, however, would be much better suited to a Starjammer setting, considering that it has all the technology and everything in place. I haven't seen a starship yet in Doom, but I think it's implied that they exist. I mean, why not? So JP says, would Sword of Truth from Terry Goodkind be different enough to consider? Mother Confessor could be a cool role. I don't actually know what Sword of Truth is, so I couldn't say. I'll have to look it up later. I mean, if I can make something out of it, then sure, why not? But I'm not familiar enough with it right now to try. I will have to look into that. I'm not going to say no, though. I mean, if I look into it and it's pretty cool, then why not? And to be honest, there's no reason why I can't just, start trawling through wikis and TV tropes and things like that to find out everything I basically need to know about it. I don't own a single codex, or any of the codices. And I don't have a single army, but I dove headfirst into the lore of 40k to learn pretty much everything there was to know about it. And I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to 40k. I'm not good with history, so I could not quote to you, the entire history of 40k from, the Golden Age through the Men of Iron, and then through the rise of the Imperium, the Heresy. I couldn't tell you all about that. I'm just not a history person. I know they happened, and I know about some of the more important things. I know the Heresy happened. I know most of the major players in it, although I could not tell you all of them by any means. I know the ones I like. Obviously, it was led by Horus. And Horus was What was his legion? I don't actually remember what his legion is now. See, I told you, I'm really bad at this kind of stuff. But I mean, I know most of the players are involved. I know most of the people. I know enough to kind of talk about it. I can hold my own in a conversation unless we get into those subjects. I suppose if I had to put it into other terms, I'm really good kind of at the who and what, but not the why and the how. And even the who is a little bit fishy. Because like I could not tell you any names. I really couldn't. I can name a lot of different Astartes chapters, and I know all the different races. I know a few of the characters, but like I couldn't tell you who the Primarchs are. I don't know. But you know, I don't actually really need to know to do this. All I need to do is work out the mechanics of how it works. And the mechanics are actually pretty easy as far as I'm concerned. I just need to find out what are they and what stats do they change, essentially. And with Warhammer, oh boy, that's a lot of them. Like, think about this. With Warhammer, making it Astartes is going to be a pretty momentous feat. But then think about this. You think that the Astartes would be complicated? Try doing a tech priest. If you think an Astartes is going to be complicated, try doing a tech priest. Where do you even begin? I don't know. Like that's probably going to be the hardest one of all of them. Doom is going to be pretty easy. Like Doom will have some new mechanics in it. Primarily like the finisher mechanics, but everything else from there is going to be, okay, where's my players? Here's your armor. Here's your shotgun. There's some demons. Go slay. Doom is not going to be too hard. Doom is going to... You know what Doom is going to be? Okay, there are essentially three kinds of... There's essentially three kinds of people who like to play tabletop games. The first of which is me, the role player. I like the idea of going into a tabletop game to play a role. Like, one of the things that I try to stress when I run a tabletop game is the word I. Not my character, not him, but I. Like if you're a ranger, okay? If you're a ranger and you're fighting a pack of wargs out in the plains, you know, think Lord of the Rings. The last thing that I want you to say is, my character shoots that warg. Okay? That is like the worst thing you could possibly do as far as I'm concerned when it comes to my roleplay or my DMing style. Here's what I want. It's like, okay, JP, it's your turn. All right. After surveying the battlefield and seeing my other party members in trouble, I reach over my shoulder and pull out an arrow. With careful deliberation as I nock it, I decide that I need to help out my fighter friend over there, Tuxedo, who's having trouble with his warg. It's a dangerous shot, I know, given that he's in melee combat, but I extend my arm and pull the fletching back to my cheek. With careful aim, I loose my arrow. And then you roll the dice. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you don't hit Tux. Bad idea, but you know what? If he's already in trouble and he's going to die anyway, sometimes you roll those dice. Because remember, shooting into a melee, you have a 50-50 chance of hitting your target. The other 50, you hit the other one. But if there's like a 97% chance that the warg is going to kill him on his next turn, You better hope it's to your knee and not something else. With your luck, it'll probably be to your spleen. And by the way, you can ask Blizz about this. The next time Blizz is in the chat, ask her about how many times she got shot in the back. Because everybody else would have their ranged weapons out. They would have bows or slings or crossbows or whatever. What does Blizz do? Charge! She got shot many times. But that's the idea. I mean, I want you to actually roleplay it. I want you to get into the character. But that's just the kind of person that I am. Then, on the absolute flip side of that, like as far away from the role player you can get, there's the dungeon crawler. Okay? These are the people that don't want a story. They don't want to roleplay. They don't want to hear the DM say a goddamn word other than hit, miss, damaged, or dead. That is the only thing they need a DM for. The only thing they're here for is the combat. They want to go into the dungeon. They don't want to deal with traps. They just want to straight up fight. They want to walk into the grid. They want to say, we have 7 monsters in front of us. Let's kill them all. And they want to sit there and reposition their pieces. They want to go for all the different bonuses they can get. If I move to this square, I can get a flanking bonus behind this one. But if I go to this one, not only do I get a flanking bonus against this monster, but I'll get an adjacency bonus for being next to this person. These are the people who like to min-max because they want numbers. They're looking for every little numerical edge they can get, and they don't care about anything else. All they want is a massacre. And I'll tell you, there is a time and a place for that. There really is. Everybody likes a good massacre. Personally, it's like the only time I ever use zombies. If you see me using zombies in a game, it's because this is me giving you the opportunity to cut loose. Zombies don't have a whole lot of HP, they don't move very fast, but I can throw 300 of them at you. And yeah, is it going to be a long fight? It sure as hell is going to be. Are you going to have fun doing it though? Oh, hell to the yes. Your wizard is going to get to cut loose with all of those area of effect spells that they never get to use. Your barbarian who picked up a whirlwind attack like 4 levels ago and hasn't had the opportunity to use it yet, your barbarian is literally going to take a running leap into the middle of these things and whirlwind like a frickin' Beyblade. Your fighter's going to say, how many attacks do I have per turn? I've got 3 attacks per turn? Oh wait, the bard just sang a song. I have 4 attacks per turn now? Lawnmower time? Your ranger's going to be sitting back there saying, so what? I have this ability called split arrow. I can fire 2 arrows at once. Can I hit 2 different targets with that, or does it have to be the same target? And I'm going to be like, no, you can hit 2 different targets with that. You take like a -2 penalty. He's like, yeah, but they're zombies. I know they're zombies. Knock yourself out. There is a time and a place for just an absolute massacre game. But it shouldn't be every game. This should be like a special treat for something. Or if I think that you're getting like too loaded down on, consumable things like potions or ammo or whatever, it's sometimes my opportunity to make you burn some of it up. It can be a balancing act. But either way, there's a time and a place. But it shouldn't be the whole game, not every game. And then of course you have the third people, which are the social gamers. They're not here for the combat, they're not here for the story, they're just here because, well, I mean, this is what we're doing this week. Next week we might go bowling. These are people who are going to like sit on their phones and you might have to remind them that it's their turn. You might have to fill them in on what they're doing because they're not really paying attention. They're just here for friends and snacks. I can't fault them for that any more than I can fault the people that are there just for combat. But if I have to remind you, what we're doing, pay attention. So anyway, Doom strikes me as being that second kind. It's just the massacre type. It's giving like 4 players, shotguns, a melee weapon, and armor, and then just opening the door and saying, there's a room full of demons. Go kill. I would have to make more of it than that, because that's not the kind of game that I really want to run. That's not to say that I can't, but I would need to give you stories and investigations, dungeons and secrets and things like that. Because I want to give you more stuff than just run around and kill. But it could be fun. I mean, it's definitely on there. It's definitely on the table. Alright, so, as things stand now, we've got a nice little list here of things to do, unless somebody wants to add something else. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and put a grid around this. There we go. That's a really good starting point, and this gives us a place to really kind of springboard off and do another stream maybe next Sunday, because I'm enjoying these tabletop streams. Like, you guys have no idea what you've unleashed. There's enough content here to keep me going for months. The real question now is, what should we do next week? Because I think I'm going to wrap up the stream here. But what do you think we should start with? What should we work on next week? I'm going to leave this one to you. Maybe I'll take your comments here, but I think I might also put out a poll on the channel as to what we should do for the next Sunday stream. Yeah, I've got the ability to do polls. Time to start using them. I'll do that. Either way, though, it's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy this. I also have to look up Sword of Truth. Actually, let me go ahead and make a note of that just so that I can go through and do the research. Sword of Truth novel series by Terry Goodkind. Okay, I've got it right here. I'm not going to forget about it. I will look into that. And JP just says he's going to think about it. That's fine. Like I said, I'll put up a poll so you can think about it. Answer the poll whenever you want. I will try to link to the poll in the Discord if I can. And that means that I can also put into other Discords that I happen to be in. Not that anybody else will care what I'm doing, but why not? Maybe it'll bring some new people in here. So, with that done, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to wrap it up. This has been fun, though. Oh, I have so much fun every time I come and do this. Kind of exhausting, not going to lie, but fun all the same. Anyway, though, whatever we end up doing, or whatever the poll says, that's what we'll start doing next week. Honestly, I don't care which one it is. They all sound fun to me. After I investigate the Sword of Truth, it might end up on there. It might not. It might also end up waiting until the next poll that comes out. Ooh, actually, I just thought of something. Tuck says, sound spreadsheet fun. Hey, if you're having fun, that's great. If I can make spreadsheets fun, then more power to me. I'm probably the greatest streamer on YouTube. Well, no, second greatest. Of course, I have to be behind that Russian guy that literally just filmed his gas stove just because he was in Russia and they had gas to burn. People watch that for hours. I will never be able to surpass that level of laziness and success. but it is something to aspire to. Oh, I just thought of, I was saying, I thought of another one. Bring this back. Bring it back. I have another one. I have another one. Oh, this could be fun, and I don't even know how I'm going to do it. But I'm going to try it anyway. I don't know if anybody else has ever played Magic the Gathering, but I have, and I love it. This is definitely going to be a Pathfinder one. Magic the Gathering conversion. That will, of course, be another... It'll be another magic system that we need to build, but it's already got so many different artifacts and equipment and everything else. It's got creatures and spells and... Oh, Magic the Gathering could be fun. Who wants to be a planeswalker? This could be a lot of fun. Oh, so we already have different planes in in Pathfinder, obviously. JP says we need a mana system. Here's the thing. I have played the game pretty extensively, but I have not read the books. I would need to find out exactly how the mana system works in the books before I could even begin to work on this. So this would take a little bit of research, but I think it could be extremely fun regardless. I mean, the research is half the fun, let's be honest. Not only am I making spreadsheets fun, I'm making research fun. I'm that good. What JP says Magic the Gathering has books. Did you not know that? Yes, Magic the Gathering has books that go back decades now. I think the first of them were coming out back in the 90s. Were you not aware of that? You know, every one of these editions that comes out, when they say, like, okay, this is the Scourge edition, or this is the Mirrodin edition, and the Darksteel and Fifth Dawn, which were all part of, like, the Mirrodin edition, or I forget what it was called. And then they got into things like the Guilds of Ravnica and whatever the other one was. All of those are a series of books. Who do you think the Planeswalkers are when you're playing, like, you use Planeswalkers in Commander, I think. I don't know. I've never played Commander, so I'm not sure how it works. But who do you think those Planeswalkers are that you put on the table? They're the main characters. Every single one of these, names that you come across, when you come across, like, Ezra's whatever, or the Sword of whomever, those are characters in the books. For example, when it says, like, Sword of Kaldra, which is a card that I have, there is a character named Kaldra. That's her sword. Yeah, there's books, there's entire stories, there's lore, there's everything. It is so much more than just a card game. But unfortunately, I can't read anymore. I tried reading and I can't do it. I got a few chapters into A Brave New World and it's like, it's too hard. I can't do it. I mean, I wish I could, but my eyes just won't do it anymore. So yeah, I think that we could absolutely do a Magic the Gathering conversion, which of course would involve Planeswalkers. So not only do you get, like, a map of places where you can go, but you could shift between planes. And I don't even know if there's a limit to the number of planes in Magic the Gathering. There might be. I'm not sure. I'll have to look up and see if I can find, like, a universal map. But yeah, that's a thing we can do. So that's going on the list too. That could be a lot of fun. All right, I'm gonna end it here because otherwise I'll end up adding more stuff. I said that before, didn't work. Okay, so yeah, this is what we're gonna do. I will put up No, not that. I want to turn things off, not back on. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to end it here. This has been fun. I will get that poll up as soon as I can so that I can start getting answers in. And, you know, maybe with a poll, if I can get it out there more, I can attract more people to the Discord, and maybe we can start working on getting a game going here pretty soon. It's going to be a Star Trek game first. I know that much. These will come later. I suppose how many we actually get through will depend on how long the campaigns are, because I usually write really long campaigns, but I could do shorter ones if I needed to. So, I'm going to go ahead and say now, if you haven't subscribed already, do so. Especially if you want to see more of these conversions, because, like, my Sundays are kind of monopolized now. I'm committed. I am now officially committed to this. So hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of this. Hit the bell icon if you want to get notified of any of these streams that come out. They come out at the same time every day, every week. So you don't really need the bell icon, but hit it anyway. If you know somebody else who enjoys tabletop games or enjoys any of the things that you saw here, that is Wheel of Time, 40K, Pokemon, Digimon, Final Fantasy, Doom, Magic the Gathering. I mean, we're covering a lot of territory here. If you know somebody who enjoys any of that, share this video with them. There is something here for pretty much anyone to enjoy. And if it's not here, I'll add it. If somebody wants me to put together a Barbie conversion module for Pathfinder, we can play humans and housewives instead of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, I'll do it. I'm not ashamed. I'll do it. So share this video out with anyone you think might enjoy it. Don't forget to leave a like on the stream. Leave a comment down below if there's anything you would like to add to this, especially if you have more suggestions. Leave any suggestions down below. I will add them to the list. It may end up becoming a very large list. But you know what? A large list is just content for months to come. So, leave the comments down below. I will see you next week for whatever we happen to be doing. I'm not sure. That's up to you guys. So, you tell me what we're doing next week. I'll see you then. Take care.